You don't learn how to predict the weather out of a book, a textbook. It's trial and error, like much of life, really. I think what propelled me and continues to sustain me is just curiosity. Just very curious about how the atmosphere works. And yes, the forecasts are often wrong, but the trends, at least up until recently, have been moving in the right direction. Today's 7-day forecast is as accurate as a 3-day forecast for your parents.
Sure.
So it's never going to be perfect, but I like to remind people from time to time that, try predicting the future sometime, whether it's in the markets, with investments, buying a certain stock, betting on a certain team. How's your fantasy football team going? And then let's talk about predicting the future. So it can be an aggravating business when we're wrong. We know it. People like to remind us, but we know when we're wrong. But the science of meteorology has evolved and improved. And so the new technologies are incredible. The various weather models, the supercomputers that drive those models, Doppler radar. I mean, we're blessed to have a network of Dopplers keeping an eye on the sky.
Can you tell me more about what that is, Doppler actually is?
Sure, it's a $10 million radar that is located at National Weather Service offices around the United States. There are 160 of these, and they stretch all the way from Guam to Alaska to the lower 48. Puerto Rico has a dedicated Doppler in San Juan. 24/7, it's scanning the atmosphere, looking not only for rain, but with Doppler, you could actually go in and derive what the winds are doing. Are the winds coming towards the Doppler site or moving away? And as such, it can detect these couplets where the air is spinning. Before you get a tornado, you have a mesocyclone. And these mesocyclones are 20 miles wide, and they spin like a top.
But it's all happening kind of in slow motion, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, in slow motion. I mean, we can give 20, 30 minutes notice now with tornadoes. It used to be you were lucky to get 7 minutes, 10 minutes. So the advanced lead time has improved. We still have a way to go. But yeah, I mean, it saved countless lives. And there are some other countries around the world that have these Doppler networks, but
but it is somewhat unique to the United States.
It is very unique to the United States. We launched a new national weather channel called Weather Nation back in 2010. I did not see that coming. We were just doing 3-minute videos for local TV stations around the country, and some investors came in and said, "Hey, we like what you're doing. We like your people. Why is there only one weather channel? We got dozens of sports channels and news channels. Why is there one?" We sensed there's an opportunity. So we got off the ground in Excelsior, a little regular office building. We converted into studios and somehow made that work. And then we launched a data company called Eris Weather, SaaS, software as a service, and good model. And we powered hundreds of companies around the world, and a Finnish company called Vaisala bought that a few years ago. 4, founders of that. So it has been for me, it's been a series of singles and doubles. No grand slam, but I'm grateful to still be standing. And whatever wealth we have, didn't come from television.
Sure.
It came from taking calculated risks and being willing to pivot. One of the companies, Digital Cyclone, with weather on the cell phone, we got down to Plan K. I remember it, and we're still buddies, the gentleman and I that worked together to make that happen, but we shake our heads.
And along the way to Plan K, there was several times of thinking about hanging it up along the way.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a slow descent into madness. I sympathize with any and all startups, but we live in the best country, I think, on earth to start a company. If you have
Sure.
an idea, and it has gotten significantly easier. I won't say easier, but certainly the tools are available now that weren't available 20, 30 years ago. Everything in the cloud, new apps, new companies to help you keep the cost down while you iterate and experiment and tinker. You don't have to hemorrhage money the way you had to, I would say, 10, 20, 30 years ago.
Certainly, and that's what, it's about 25 years ago I got my international start, first in the country of Russia, actually, and I didn't speak the language, and, I went over there on somewhat of a business opportunity, of a whim, and even thinking in that 25-year span, just the ability to travel, communicate with people via email and,
Yep.
video conferencing, things like that. As you said, there's so many tools now that we can use to really streamline and narrow down and cut down some of the risk of trying new.
Let me ask you a question that haunts me. Can anyone be an entrepreneur?
I don't necessarily believe that everyone can. This is the reason why I feel that way. So I come from the northern part of the state. My father was a mechanic in the mines. My mother worked at the post office. And, throughout my early entrepreneur career, my father, almost until the day he died, kept asking me when I was going to get a job. and this is after having experienced some pretty good success. So I think some people are just hardwired, to have a very finite career or way of thinking in what they do. And that, it's not good or bad, in what it is. But I think there are some people that just don't have, in my opinion, kind of the mindset to follow an entrepreneur path, which is very difficult, in my opinion.
I don't disagree with that. And at the end of the day, too, I think it's a confidence game.
Mhm.
Confidence is important. One thing, my wife keeps reminding me that, I'm no genius. And I have to say, my timing has been good on some of these ventures, surrounding myself with people smarter than I am. But I still maintain to my dying breath that raw IQ won't get you over the finish line. I know a lot of brilliant people who have no interest in starting a company, and then they wonder, well, why am I not getting ahead? I'm smart. I think persistence and curiosity are more important than raw intellect. I just read a report that confirmed that we are seeing more weather whiplash. I always thought it was more anecdotal, but they actually quantified that, yes, especially in other countries, in South America, parts of Asia, the swings, the extremes are trending more extreme, going from a freeze to 80 degrees in the span of a few days. Depending on what you're trying to grow, what business you're in, I mean, that can be a business killer. And
Sure.
so we're seeing that. And the levels of heat in the Middle East, Southern Asia, at some point, I don't care, even if you can grow the plants, if people can't be out there for extended periods of time to harvest your plants, you've got a challenge.
In 2019, my local architect here in Minneapolis that I've known for 20 years and worked with, and I were invited over to the country of Djibouti to build some indoor growing facilities. So Djibouti's in the Horn of Africa, and these would have been facilities to supply, there's a major air base over there. And as we investigated the opportunity and did some preliminary work going in the ground over there, we determined that it was probably very similar to an environment on the moon that we're going with, with lack of water and
Wow.
extreme heat and things like that. Ultimately, we abandoned the project because it was frankly harder than I was willing to take on. But it was an interesting education. In the process, we talk about entrepreneurial opportunities, and it was good for me to go there and understand what those needs and things are and apply them to other projects that I've done around.
As humans, we're wired to be resistant to change. Well, this is how I've done it. I've done it this way for 30 years, Paul, and I'm not going to change for you or anyone else. I don't know who I'm imitating.
You have someone in your mind.
Sounded like my dad there. But yeah, I mean, as you know, you are living proof of this. There's always a better way.
Mhm.
And when we become resistant to change, scared to change, you become paralyzed. And part of it is pragmatic too. I want to buy solar panels and wind turbines from American companies. And so if you ignore the problem or, kick the can down the road, you may find out fairly quickly that our competitors are overseas. We should be cultivating that capability right here.
So you and I are alike in that we're renovating an old home right now into our future homes or vacation homes, I guess, respectively. Are you thinking about putting any solar on this new home?
I am. My wife is an architect, and she understands and does not dispute the fact that the climate is changing. I think she's worried the aesthetics of putting big panels, and I'm like, they've got solar shingles now that actually look pretty good, and every year they get better. So if I had to guess, we have an outbuilding. We have the main cabin that we're totally reconstructing. We thought we could put a Band-Aid on it. No, it required surgery. But we have another building where we park our cars, and we built a little room above it. And I think on that building, she will acquiesce and allow me to put my solar panels up. I'd love to put a turbine up. I wish somebody would invent a small 5-foot high turbine that you could kind of hide in your hedge or hide in your garden. You could power the entire neighborhood with the winds we get here in Minnesota.
That's right.
I mean, instant billion-dollar valuation for that, for such a company. And I know local neighborhoods have restrictions on, nobody wants to hear them or see them, but there should be some way to tap the wind for consumers, not just for these big utilities.
Well, in my case, in our vacation property is a farm, so I've got a little bit more space. So I'm hoping to put a
Nice.
larger array of panels up there and hopefully make that difference you're talking about.
And you can get panels now where you can adjust,
They'll kind of follow the sun, you mean? Or something.
follow the sun, but also that retract when there's a risk of hail.
Oh, interesting.
With these hailstorms,
Which we have here.
you get 2-3 inch baseball size hail. Your solar array may not survive that, but they have some now that even automatically with no human intervention using AI. And by the way, that's a huge, I think, opportunity for meteorology and every industry. But now you can sort of protect your solar panels before those hailstorms come through, which is kind of cool.